Oga, make that the name show. Make that the name show. I don't come out the name. You 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 don't come out the name.
Have you ever helped someone before and then ended up regretting it? Well, if you live to tell the story, then consider yourself extremely lucky, because the story you're about to hear will open your eyes to the terrifying consequences of showing kindness to a devil dressed as an angel. Sunday, May 23, 2021 began like any other weekend morning for Christopher Nobong Jimmy in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. The 42-year-old manager of a clearing and forwarding company was getting ready to leave home at around 8 a.m. He explained to his wife, Arit, that he would first stop by his office to handle some work matters. After that, he planned to drive to his hometown of Ikotabasi in Akwa Ibom State to visit his sister and also spend time with his family. It was a trip he had made many times before, and Arit had no reason to worry about her husband's safety. Christopher climbed into his great Toyota Matrix and drove away from their home. Arit, who worked as a trader, watched him leave before getting ready for church. She expected to hear from her husband later in the day, as he always called to check in during his travels. As Christopher drove through the familiar streets of Port Harcourt, heading toward Akwa Ibom State, he had no idea that this journey would be his very last on earth. The man, who was known for his kindness and willingness to help others, was about to encounter someone who would turn that kindness against him in the most deadly way possible. When Christopher reached Trailer Park in One, still within Rivers State, he noticed a man in a full military uniform standing by the roadside. The soldier was completely equipped with military gear, including an AK-47 assault rifle, and appeared to need transportation. The name tag on his uniform clearly read Stephen I, and the I would later be determined to be an initial for Iwe. The soldier looked professional and official. He was stationed at the Nigerian Army's 6th Battalion in Ibawa, a back local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Since Christopher was heading to the same state, it seemed natural to offer the man a lift. Christopher pulled over and offered to give the soldier a ride. Stephen Iwe, who was 39 years old, gratefully accepted the offer and climbed into the passenger seat of the Toyota Matrix. To Christopher, this was just a simple act of helping a fellow traveler, not knowing that to Stephen, it was an opportunity he had been waiting for. As they began their journey together, the conversation between the two men seemed normal. Christopher, being a friendly person, probably made small talk with his passenger. Meanwhile, Stephen was already planning something terrible, something that would destroy Christopher's family forever. Around 1 p.m. that Sunday, while they were still traveling, Christopher tried to call his wife, Arit. However, she was still in church and therefore missed his call. After the church service ended, Arit noticed the missed call from her husband. She immediately tried to call him back. The phone rang, but Christopher did not answer. She probably assumed he was actively driving and couldn't get to the phone at the moment, so she let it be for the meantime. Meanwhile, Christopher and Stephen had crossed from Rivers State into Akwa Ibom State and were getting closer to Christopher's hometown, which was Ikotabasi. The journey that had started as a simple act of kindness was about to take a very deadly turn. When Christopher and Stephen reached a junction in Oboro, Ikotabasi, which was Christopher's hometown, they decided to make a stop. The long drive had made them tired and they needed to rest. They parked the car and stepped out to take care of their basic needs. The two men went to urinate, bought some pork meat to eat, and took a moment to rest before continuing their journey. Christopher was being a good host to his passenger, completely unaware of the evil thoughts in Stephen's mind. It was at this quiet junction that Corporal Stephen Iwe revealed his true nature. Without any warning or reason, Stephen suddenly pulled out a dagger and attacked Christopher in the chest. He inflicted several injuries on Christopher and ultimately finished him off by delivering a single shot from his AK-47 rifle to his head, ending his life instantly. After killing Christopher, Stephen quickly tried to hide his crime. He dragged Christopher's body into nearby bushes, close to the roadside in an attempt to conceal the evidence. Then, without any guilt, Stephen took Christopher's car keys and drove away in the Toyota Matrix. He also stole Christopher's phone, money and other belongings. Back in Port Harcourt, Harriet was becoming very worried. When she tried to call her husband again later that evening, she was told that his phone line had been switched off. This was completely unlike Christopher, who always kept his phone on and stayed in touch with his family when traveling. Meanwhile, commercial motorcyclists who walked around the junction in Oboro had made a shocking discovery. They found Christopher's body in the bushes where Stephen had left it. Knowing that something serious had happened, they immediately called the police to report what they had found. The police came quickly and took Christopher's body to the mortuary in Ikotabasi. However, at this point, no one knew who the victim was because his means of identification was missing. The next day, being Monday, May 24, 2021, Harriet had gone from being worried to becoming fully panicky. Her husband had been missing for more than 24 hours without any form of contact, which was completely unlike him. Desperate to find Christopher, she decided to take action. Harriet called her husband's friends at work, hoping they might have heard from him. But unfortunately, their answers only made her more afraid. None of them had heard from Christopher since he left home that Sunday morning. Understanding how serious the situation was, Harriet begged Christopher's colleagues to help her search for her missing husband. The office workers agreed to help, and together they began an emergency search mission. They drove from Port Harcourt toward Akwa Ibom State, following the same route Christopher would have taken. At every police checkpoint they passed, they stopped to ask if anyone had seen Christopher or knew anything about where he might be. Sadly, none of the police officers or soldiers at the various checkpoints could give them the answer they were so desperate to hear. While Harriet and Christopher's colleagues were searching along the highway, another family member was also looking for answers. Auntie Mercy, who was Christopher's sister living in Ikotabasi, had been expecting her brother's visit. When he failed to arrive and could not be reached by phone, she also began to worry. She may have been informed by Harriet that her brother was unreachable, so she decided to search for Christopher around Ikotabasi. She went to different places where she thought Christopher might have stopped, asking anyone she met if they had seen him. Her search brought her to a T-junction in Ikotabasi, where she met some commercial motorcyclists. When Auntie Mercy asked the motorcyclists if they had seen anything unusual, they told her about a terrible incident. They explained that a man had been stabbed and his vehicle stolen. The description they gave made Auntie Mercy fear the worst. At that same moment, Harriet and Christopher's colleagues arrived at the same T-junction. The family members met each other under the worst possible circumstances. Auntie Mercy showed the motorcyclists a photograph of Christopher, asking them to confirm if this was the man they had found. The motorcyclists looked at the photo and confirmed Harriet's worst nightmare. It was indeed Christopher who had been killed. They told her that they had already reported the matter to the police and that Christopher's body had been taken to a mortuary in Ikotabasi. With Christopher's identity now confirmed, the police began a serious investigation. They had a murder case on their hands and needed to find the killer, who had also stolen the victim's car. Fortunately, Christopher's Toyota Matrix had a car tracking device which would prove very important in solving the case. When the police turned on the car tracker, they were able to find the exact location of the stolen vehicle. The tracker led them to a guest house in Ukanafun, which was another local government area in Akwa Ibom State. This was many kilometers away from the murder scene in Oboro, showing that the killer had tried to get away from where he had committed the crime. The police organized a raid on the guest house. They moved quickly and quietly, not wanting to give the suspects any chance to escape. When they stormed Andy guest house, they found their target, Corporal Stephen Iwe, still wearing his full military uniform. The arrest of Stephen Iwe was a major breakthrough in the case. The police not only had their suspect, but they also found the murder weapon, the AK-47 rifle that Stephen had used to kill Christopher. They also recovered other evidence that connected Stephen to the crime, including Christopher's stolen belongings. As the investigation continued, disturbing facts about Corporal Stephen Iwe came to light. Stephen was 39 years old and an indigene of Imo State. He was a father of 3 children and had been serving in the Nigerian Army since 2002, giving him almost 20 years of military experience. But investigation showed that Stephen had been living a secret life. The AK-47 rifle he used to eliminate Christopher was not officially given to him. Instead, Stephen claimed that he had picked up the weapon in Dambu, Borno State in 2018 and decided to keep it as his personal weapon. This was completely against military rules, since soldiers cannot keep military weapons for their own use. Even more shocking was what Stephen was supposed to be doing on the day of the murder. According to military records, Stephen Iwe was supposed to be on duty at the army store at 6th Battalion, Ibawa, a back local government area on that Sunday, May 23, 2021. Instead of going to work and doing his military duties, Stephen had left his post to commit this terrible crime. When the military authorities learned about Stephen's arrest, they were very angry. Senior military officers came to the police station to take Stephen from police custody. However, this was not to protect him or help him escape justice. Instead, the military wanted Stephen to first of all face a court-martial, which was a military trial where soldiers are judged for breaking military law. During the court-martial, Stephen faced his military superiors who would decide his fate in the army. The evidence against him was very strong, and his actions clearly went against everything the military stands for. After reviewing the case, the court-martial made their decision. Stephen Iwe was dismissed from the Nigerian army immediately. This dismissal meant that he was no longer a soldier and would not get any benefits that come with military service. However, the military's punishment was just the beginning. After his dismissal, Stephen was given back to the police for more investigation and prosecution in civilian courts. With Stephen officially dismissed from the army, the civilian legal process began. He was charged with multiple serious crimes related to Christopher's murder. The case was heard at the Akwa Ibom State High Court in Uyo, with Justice Basi Nkana as the judge. During the trial, the prosecution proved that Stephen had been in Christopher's car, had illegally possessed the murder weapon, fled with the stolen vehicle, and was found with evidence of his crimes. On September 26, 2025, Justice Basi Nkana reached his verdict. He ruled that the prosecution had proved beyond a doubt that Stephen Iwe was guilty of all charges leveled against him. Stephen was convicted on 3 counts. For murder, he was sentenced to death by hanging. For armed robbery, he received another death sentence. For illegal possession of firearms, he got 10 years in prison. Before the final sentencing, Stephen was allowed to ask the court for mercy. He begged for what he called a soft landing. However, Justice Basi rejected his plea for mercy, deciding that his crimes were too serious to show any leniency. The conviction of Stephen Iwe brought some justice for Christopher's family, but it could never bring back the loving husband and father they had lost. Christopher Inobong Jimmy left behind his 34-year-old widow Arit and 2 daughters who were just 8 years old and 1 year old at the time of the murder. What are your thoughts on this heartbreaking case? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you regretted helping someone? Share your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel or page for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching.